G'day, Gavin from Aussie Bush Pens. As you know, I make pens and other stuff. And today's video, the first one I'm going to attempt to do while I do this sort of thing, so excuse the roughness, is I'm going to be making 20 pens for troops. There'll be a Facebook link in the description below. A few months ago, you saw that I may have picked up a hunk of ironbark off the side of the road out of Dubbo. And I said there was a special project. Well, this is it. So this hunk here, I'm going to show you from the raw product to the pens you see. And I'm going to be making 20 pens for pens. First job, nothing really special. Got to peel the bark off. Makes it a whole lot easier for everything else. And no, I didn't preset that up. It's just been sitting outside for a while. Next job I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it down the middle with the chainsaw. I'm going to rip it so it fits on my table saw. I'm going to try and pick the best line. As you can see, I've now got two halves. I'm going to rip it all up on my table saw. Back in a sec. There you go, folks. 38 blanks. I threw about 5 or 6 away that didn't cut the mustard, so to speak. As you can see, I've written what timber they are and where I've got them, and then we'll get into the next part. The blanks then go into this template I've made to cut them to size for the blanks, for the pens. But first I'm going to draw a line down so I can match them up later. And as I'm doing 20 of them, I'm just going to be labelling so I can... So now I have my 2 halves of the pen, and this offcut will go into a bucket, and I'll use it either later for something else or it starts the pizza oven. Right, I'm going to drill this out. This takes a couple of passes so it doesn't jam up. So we have here a slimline pen kit. It's the black chrome version. I need to get the tubes out of these. The rest of it can go away for the moment until I turn the pen. So these tubes are all bright and shiny, so I just get a bit of sandpaper, just rough them up a little bit. Ensures the glue can stick. You can see the difference there. Need this special insertion tool that I've made. Cost me $1 to buy. Got old Bunnings, the big green shed specials area. Now this part you need to be quick. I use medium CA. And don't worry, that's not one of Kylie's cooking mats. Bought it myself. Because you can see there's glue drips all over it, and being silicone it just comes right off. So push it in, twist it, pull it out. That was too slow. Got it. See, it's pretty fast, this glue. There we go. Then I usually just set them aside to dry for a bit. So I've changed from my 7mm drill bit. I'm going to put this tube reamer in it, and it brings down the blank down to the size of the tubes. So you can just see the brass. So what that reamer does is it makes sure that it's cut perpendicular to tube. So if you haven't drilled perfectly straight, it's good to go. I just chamfer the tubes. It's probably it usually puts a little burr in there. Makes it a bit easier for assembly later. So I use what's known as a pen handle. I need a bushing. It allows me to cut it properly. And that, then another bushing, making sure my lines are lined up, and I bring my tailstock in. Adjust my tool rest. The first thing I do, guys, is just take it down to size with round shape. Now I've just got it down to the round where that cutting was. As you can see, the blanks are a fair bit larger, but I cut them larger because I still make plenty of mistakes being new at this. I could cut them a little bit thinner to make less wastage, but you know, when you're new, you got to do what you got to do. You can see now they're both down to round. What I'm going to do now is start the shaping process. Here we are, rough shape. I do it my way. I like to check for size. A little fat yet. Beautiful. So now I'm going to start the sanding process. First thing I need to do is turn the lathe right down. As slow as it goes. I start with 120. Being a rough sandpaper, you need to go with the grain. Get rid of all those cross marks. Right, so it's at this point I swap out my bushings because now I'm going to finish the pen and I don't want these metal bushings to stick. So at this point it's important to line up the pen so it still goes back together in the same order. I'll just get rid of these slim lines. And I use non-stick bushings. They're HDPE. And it allows me to finish them without everything sticking together. But first thing we got to do is give it a clean off. Get rid of all that sawdust, bit of metho. See all the sawdust coming off there. That won't take long to dry. I use one of the little bags that the different pen parts come in, so I don't get, or try to avoid getting super glue on my finger. That's basically what the finish is, super glue, or commonly referred to as CA. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it, after dropping it, 3 coats of thin CA, and then I'm going to give it 12 coats of thick CA. So a little dab on there, back and forth, and I just let that dry. First coat doesn't take long to dry at all. It's already dry. It's at this point I stop it and I just break the seal between the pens and the bushings, otherwise it makes it a little bit harder later and you don't get as nice finish. There we go. So the medium CA is about the same, it's a bit processed. Righto. I swap back to the slimline bushings at this point. Now that it's all sealed, ready for the sanding. Now that I've got the slimline bushings back on, I move on to sanding. This is all wet sanding and I start with 12,000. So now I move on to what's commonly referred to as micro mesh pads. And these go really, really high. I can't remember, sorry guys. See it all polished up. Don't need the bushings anymore. Don't need the pen mandrel anymore. What I use to press the pen together is these two planks, once again made out of HDPE. Before I can do that, just sand off the ends. I usually have a quick look, decide which one's going to be top and bottom, and I think I'm going to do it this way. Do is I do this up a little bit, and then I have a look at where I want this.
Hi, Dad.
Hey, buddy. I don't want to hide anything, so I'm going to put it about there. And then just pop it. Hey, mate. Right, the transmission takes a little bit more to do.
Huh?
So it doesn't dig into the plastic, I use this paddle pop stick. Now this is one of those ones you go slowly but surely, because you don't want to go too far. So I go to about there, get the rubber off the end, and then I check to see how it works. And that's pretty much bang on. So then the center band. Goes on like that. And we push the two halves together. Now we try and line it up the best way we can, and that's about where I want it, but that's not quite right, so I have to turn it around like that. There we go. And now we have a finished ironbark pen. Pens for the troops.